When you picture an ancient empire, what pops into your head? Marching legions, right? Conquered lands, the whole deal? But what if I told you one of the most powerful empires in the Mediterranean was built not by the sword, but by the ledger? Let's dive into the fascinating story of Carthage, a superpower that dominated with a completely different kind of power.
It really makes you stop and ask a pretty fundamental question. How is an empire actually built? Is it always about grabbing territory and winning wars? Or is there maybe another path to power, one that looks nothing like the Roman model we all learned about in school?
Think of it like this. You've basically got two blueprints. On one side, you have the empire built by the sword. That's your classic Rome, expanding its borders with unstoppable military might. But then, on the other side, you've got the empire built by the ledger. And that is Carthage's story. An empire built on economic dominance, trade networks, and just sheer financial leverage.
Okay, so how on earth does a single city in modern-day Tunisia pull that off? How do you build an empire on trade? Well, it all started with their ancestors and a total mastery of the sea. See, Carthage was founded by the Phoenicians, and these guys were the undisputed masters of maritime trade in the ancient world. They came from the coast of modern-day Lebanon, and their whole strategy was never about conquering huge chunks of land. Instead, they built this incredible web of trading posts and colonies at key spots all across the Mediterranean, from North Africa all the way to Spain. And if you want just one thing that perfectly sums up their entire model, look no further than Tyrian purple. This incredibly rich, valuable dye was the ultimate symbol of luxury and power. It wasn't a weapon, but making it required specialized knowledge and skill on the seas, which allowed them to project massive influence and wealth. This was the Phoenician way, and it became the Carthaginian way.
And this, right here, sets the stage for the great rivalry of the ancient world. You've got these two superpowers, Rome and Carthage, rising at the same time, but with totally different ideas about how power works. One's got an iron fist, the other has an open, but very strategic hand.
And when you put them side by side, the contrast is just stark. Rome's power came from its land and its citizen army, conquering territory piece by piece. Carthage's power? The sea. They expanded through commerce and treaties, making partners who were economically dependent on them instead of just ruling them directly. Even their militaries were completely different. Rome used citizens, while Carthage hired mercenaries, basically treating war like another business expense.
So what were the actual tools they used to build and maintain this whole commercial empire? Well, it was a pretty sophisticated toolkit of negotiation, innovation, and what we would probably call soft power today. You know, the founding legend of Carthage itself tells you everything you need to know. Their founder, Queen Alyssa, didn't show up with an army. Nope, she was fleeing her homeland, and she had to negotiate for land. When the local leaders offered her only as much ground as a single bull's hide could cover, she didn't fight them. Instead, she did something genius. She had the hide cut into incredibly thin strips, laid them end to end, and encircled an entire hill. Ingenuity over brute force. That was the Carthaginian DNA from day one.
And that same clever thinking was in their entire toolkit. I mean, they had the most advanced ships on the sea, these fast, nimble biremes and triremes. They perfected navigation by the stars, which let them sail far beyond the sight of land. And they had a revolutionary piece of tech for communication, the Phoenician alphabet, a simple script that made trade so much easier and later became the basis for Greek and Latin.
But maybe their most brilliant tool of all was cultural. Instead of forcing their religion on the people they traded with, they practiced something called syncretism. They basically blended their gods, like Baal Hamon and Tanit, with the local Berber beliefs. This created this shared spiritual ground that made cooperation and stability way easier. And what's incredible is that the goddess Tanit is still remembered in Tunisia today as Amek Tangu, a testament to this powerful strategy of integration over imposition.
Of course, an empire built on trade can't avoid war forever. And when Carthage was forced to fight, it produced one of history's absolute greatest military minds, Hannibal Barca. But even Hannibal's strategy was uniquely Carthaginian.
We all know the legendary story, right? Marching an army complete with war elephants all the way from Spain across the treacherous Alps and right into Italy's backyard. It was one of the most audacious, incredible military maneuvers in all of history. But what was the real goal?
And this is the absolute key. Hannibal's objective was not to march into the city of Rome and burn it down. He knew that was nearly impossible. His goal was so much smarter, so much more Carthaginian. He wanted to dismantle Rome's entire network of alliances from the inside.
So even on the battlefield, Hannibal was playing the diplomat. He was a coalition builder. His victories were designed to show Rome's allies that Rome couldn't protect them, hoping they'd flip and join his side. He was trying to break the system of alliances that was the true source of Rome's strength. He was fighting a war of influence, not just a war of conquest.
So why does this ancient empire of merchants and sailors matter to us now? Because if you look closely, the Carthaginian blueprint for power never really went away. Its echoes are all around us.
You can see a striking parallel today in China's global strategy. Through its Belt and Road Initiative, it's using economic investment, trade deals, and control over key ports and supply chains to build influence and create dependencies, all without firing a shot. It's a geoeconomic strategy that Carthage would have understood perfectly.
The lessons from Carthage are just so relevant today. They show us that economic leverage can be every bit as powerful as an army. They show that cultural integration can create a much more stable foundation for power than simple conquest. And they prove that controlling the world's strategic choke points, whether we're talking about sea lanes or supply chains, is the real key to global influence. Which leaves us with a final thought to chew on. In our deeply interconnected world, a world dominated by global trade and these complex supply chains, who really holds the power? Is it still the nation with the biggest army, or is it the one that controls the ports, the trade routes, and the ledgers? The story of Carthage suggests the answer might not be what you think.